Hello, this is Jason Lee from nextlevelguitar.com, and I'm here today, and I actually brought my vintage 62 Fender Bassman. So we're going to go over a few details about that right now. Funny story, the Bassman itself was actually designed for bass players, but somewhere along the line someone must have plugged the guitar into it and realized how good it actually sounds for the guitar frequencies too. So I think over the years people actually hear a Bassman, and if they're familiar with it, they always go, well, why are you going to use that for bass? And you say, well, no, it's for guitar. No, it's for bass. So this, you know, people argue about that too, but definitely the Bassman's a guitar amplifier nowadays. So definitely one thing I want to point out on this is actually the model that came out before Fender used bright switches on their amps. So this is definitely, you can tighten up your sound a little bit better with this. So one thing I like to show you is the difference with this amp and some of the later Bassmans that came along. This is the first generation of the piggyback style setup, so as opposed to the actual upright setup from the late 50s, this is the early 60s. So with this, this actually has a presence knob, which is really cool. It's very well sought after. And with this amp itself, it doesn't have any bright switches. This is before the bright switches came out. So if you take a look at normal Fender blackface amp, you'll see bright switches right here. But what's really nice about this is that you can kind of custom tailor your tone with the presence knob itself. With the other models, if you were to turn your bright switch on, it's almost like jumping it up to 10 on here. So this way you can actually custom tailor it. Some guys don't like the sound with the bright switch on, and they don't like the sound with the bright switch off. So this way you could put it at 5 to 6 right there, and you'd be pretty set to go. To explain the way the jacks work really quick, your first position on an old Fender amp like this is going to have a little bit of a hotter output, and then your actual input 2 is going to have a little bit of a softer output. This doesn't mean that you can plug in multiple instruments at once. They're never really meant to do that. It was just meant to, do you want to run it as a bass instrument or anything normal? But definitely, when you cut to the normal side, it's even going to be a little bit quieter than this side, and then once again, it's going to be a little bit quieter in the normal position. So a lot of times for recording, some people like to use those where they can actually, cut it over and get a little bit of a softer sound. But it's a great simple amp. It's really easy to put anything else on top of it and make it sound good. It's made popular by tons of artists. It's pretty much going to be a repeat too on each side. So other blackface amps do have other options like vibrato. This is just a straight clean sound amp. So we've got volume, treble, bass, volume, treble, and bass. One other thing to notice too on these brown face amps, the really cool thing with these is they actually have the numbers printed on the faceplate itself. If you look at most other amps, look at Twin Reverb or anything around that era, you're going to notice that they're just blank, and then they have a marker right along the bottom of here. But what these have, is actually just the knob itself in the middle. A blackface amp is going to have the numbers written right on the knob itself, and then as you move it, you can tell the difference with the little ticker mark at the bottom. So definitely, this is one of my favorite amps. 62 Fender Bassman, an amazing amp. One thing especially with the Bassman amp itself, it was designed to be a really clean amp, a really no frills amp, no vibrato, no reverb, light, easy to carry around. You can still put it on bigger cabinets, smaller cabinets, it'll power the same. Lots of famous players have used them, a lot of the rockabilly guys, a lot of the surf guys, especially a lot of the blues guys. It's just such a clean amp that you really get that kind of bite to it. So I've got my American 62 reissue Jazzmaster Fender right here, and I'm just gonna kind of pluck around a little bit and show you the differences that you can do with this being the clean transplant and just changing the tone with my pickups. This 62 Fender Bassman is all tube circuitry. It's about 40 watts RMS. Definitely the Bassman is known for cranking though. When you do crank it up past 6 or 7, that's what a lot of guys use it for, because you actually get a natural distortion. You don't need a pedal or anything. So we're going to get into some examples right now with the Jazzmaster. So let's try that one more time. I'm in the neck position, but I want to show you the difference, the way a bassman is affected when you literally switch to the bridge. It's a little bit different than most amps. The amp pretty much changes with the way you're changing the sound coming in the front end. So let's try that one more time. Alright, thank you once again. This is Jason Lee with nextlevelguitar.com. Thank you for letting me show you my vintage 62 Bassman piggyback amp. And Bassmans, not in this format, but Bassmans in a vintage format are reissued. So if you are ever in a store, please try one out. Grab a Jazzmaster down, grab anything, and just try the Bassman out. It's definitely a clean transplant, that especially if you want to use pedals and get other sounds, the Bassman won't change that tone. So make sure to check out more lessons with nextlevelguitar.com, and I'm going to play us out. Ooh.